Let's talk about a force that's basically running the show in our daily lives, from the moment you take a step to when you drive your car. It's this invisible thing that's both your biggest help and your most constant annoyance. It's your unseen frenemy.
I mean, really think about that for a second. The very same force that lets you hold on tight to your morning coffee is the exact same one that's slowly but surely grinding the rubber off your car's tires. How is that even possible? How can one thing be both so helpful and so destructive?
Well, the answer is friction. And we're going to spend the next few minutes digging into this frenemy relationship we have with it. Because it's something we absolutely cannot live without, but man, we spend a lot of time and energy fighting against it.
Okay, so what is it officially? The textbook definition is that friction is the force that opposes motion when two surfaces are touching. So, you slide a book across a table. Friction is the table pushing back, trying to stop the book. That's the big picture view. But to really get it, you have to zoom in, way in. What is actually causing that resistance at a level you can't even see with your own eyes?
It turns out there's no such thing as a perfectly smooth surface. If you could look at anything under a powerful enough microscope, you'd see it's covered in these tiny little mountains and valleys. And when you press two surfaces together, those little imperfections get caught on each other. They interlock like tiny gear teeth. Plus, you've got these adhesive forces, which is kind of like a molecular level stickiness pulling the surfaces together.
Okay, so now that we know what's going on down there, let's start with friction as the villain of the story. The force that's always just getting in the way.
And this is its whole deal right here. You push one way, friction pushes back the other way. Always. It's a constant battle, and friction never ever helps you get going. It only ever tries to slow you down.
And that opposition has real-world consequences, right? It slows everything down. It creates heat. You ever feel your phone get warm? That's wasted energy, thanks to friction. And of course, it's the reason for wear and tear, slowly grinding away at everything from your brakes to the soles of your shoes.
But, and this is a huge but, that's only half the story. Because if we could magically snap our fingers and get rid of this foe, our entire world would literally fall apart. So now let's look at friction as the unsung hero.
And this is where the paradox just smacks you in the face. The same force that wears out your tires is the only reason they can grip the road in the first place. The resistance you fight against when you're pushing a heavy box, that's the same force that lets you walk across the floor without your feet just sliding out from under you. It's the ultimate double-edged sword.
This quote from our source material just nails it perfectly. We complain about it all the time when it's costing us energy or wearing things out, but we depend on it for pretty much every single action we take.
Just try for a second to imagine a world with zero friction. You couldn't even walk. Your feet would just slip in place forever. You couldn't write with a pen because the ink would have nothing to grab onto. Any knot you tied would instantly come undone. Car brakes would be completely useless. Nails would just slide out of the wall. Our world simply could not function.
So, since friction is both absolutely essential and a huge problem, what did we do? Well, like we always do, we figured out how to control it. We learned how to turn the dial up when we need more and dial it way down when we need less. When we need more grip, we find ways to crank up the friction. We cut those deep treads into tires to make them rougher. The soles of your sneakers have all those grooves for the exact same reason. And when you slam on the brakes in a car, you're just using a ton of pressure to squeeze the brake pads against the wheel, creating as much friction as you possibly can to stop.
So yeah, increasing friction is great for grip and for safety. But for just about everything else, for making things faster, more efficient, longer lasting, the big engineering puzzle has always been about how to get rid of it.
So how do we fight back? Well, we can polish surfaces to try and smooth out those microscopic mountains. We can add lubricants, like oil or grease, that create this tiny, slick layers so the surfaces can glide past each other. But the most genius trick of all is that last one.
And here it is. This is the big aha moment. See, it takes the most force to get something to start moving in the first place. That's static friction. It's that extra oomph you need to get a heavy couch to budge. Once it's sliding, it gets a little easier. But rolling, the amount of force you need to roll something it's incredibly dramatically lower. And that simple fact, that rolling is so much easier than sliding, is why the invention of the wheel literally changed the course of human history. By swapping sliding for rolling, we could suddenly move massive things with very little effort. It's the magic behind wheels, and it's the same principle behind the tiny little ball bearings inside everything from a fidget spinner to a jet engine.
Okay, so we've talked all about friction between solid things. But this force doesn't just stop there. Nope, it's also in the air we breathe and the water we swim in. It's technically called fluid friction, but you and I know it by a much more common name: drag. It's that resistance you feel when you stick your hand out the window of a moving car, or the force that's pushing against you when you're trying to swim across a pool.
And what makes drag worse? Pretty much three things: how fast you're going, the faster you go, the more drag you feel, the shape of the object, and of course, the fluid itself. I mean, it's way harder to run through water than it is to run through air, right?
So, faced with this invisible wall of resistance from air and water, how did we figure out how to beat it? We came up with a really clever design concept called streamlining.
And where'd we get this brilliant idea? We cheated. We just copied nature. Think about it. Birds and fish have had millions of years of evolution to perfect the shapes that cut through air and water with the least possible resistance. So we just mimicked them, designing our cars, our boats, and our planes with those same smooth, curved shapes to reduce drag and save a ton of energy.
So when you really look, you see our entire world is built around this constant negotiation with friction. The treads on a screw, the slick coating on a frying pan, the pointy nose of a high-speed train, it's all about managing this one force. So the next time you tie your shoes, think about how you're using friction as a friend. And when you see a jet fly overhead, think about how it's designed to overcome it as a foe. Once you start looking for it, you'll see this battle, this dance, happening absolutely everywhere.